Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Rowing Chat podcast. I started this podcast in 2013, and today we're going to be talking to Carla Beekman, who is an expert in coaching rowing from the Netherlands. Carla, welcome.
Hi, Rebecca. I'm very glad that I can join the podcast. It's an honor to be there. So, yes, let's go for it.
So, tell us a little bit first about you and how did you get started in rowing?
I got started because I like water. And I started at 12 years going to a club in the Netherlands, here in Amsterdam. And I started as youth in the single scull, as they call it in English. Here in the Netherlands, they call it skiff. Um, but anyhow, we will speak about single sculling since this is an English podcast. So I went in the skiff right away. Oh, sorry, this is so. I said already skiff because it's so in the Netherlands. It's so common to use this word. I started in the single scull right away, and that made a lot of fun. So I continued rowing, and the first until I was about 22. I was doing competitions on a higher level, and I enjoyed it a lot. But then you get to row, to study, and to sleep, and to row, and to study, and to sleep. So after a while, I stopped this. And if you stop it, you are grabbed as a coach in the club usually. So this is how the whole rowing started.
And your business is called enjoyrowing.com.
True. In the club where I stopped my competition rowing. I was grabbed as a coach, and I first coached another competition rower, youth rower. But after a year, she decided to do another sport, and I thought, well, I invested a whole lot of time to a, a girl that already rowed very well. And at the same time, at my club, there were hundreds of members, recreational rowers, who started rowing, had a beginner course, but no follow up and no improvement of technical skills. So this bothered me, and I thought this is a pity. And I started to help these people in my club. And I thought that they are so glad that someone finally popped up to really help them to row a little bit better. And this is where the whole idea started. However, I can tell a little bit more because, in fact, the idea started in Vermont in the United States. I studied journalism, and part of my study was a traineeship at a radio station. After this traineeship in the States, I searched for something to do with rowing. And I wrote a letter to the US Rowing Federation that I searched something to do with rowing for fun. I ended up at the Craftsbury Sculling Camp, which you might know. I don't know. And they said, "Oh
Okay.
yes, we can use somebody like you. Just come along and help us out as a volunteer." And so I was there, 84 or something like that. I don't know. And I saw how they organized their sculling camps with black white video registrations, analysis, people coming with their single sculls on the roof to the Lake Hosmer, as it is called, I think. And I thought, wow, this
Yes.
is great. What are they doing here? And why don't we have this in Europe? And exactly this question was the beginning of Enjoy Rowing, because it was not happening like this in Europe. And this is how it started. However, I'm not an Olympic gold rower. And I thought, who am I as an unknown rower and unknown coach to start this? So it took 10 years to convince myself that it could be something, and to just start this idea and to look for places to go. Well, this is how I, in a nutshell, how Enjoy Rowing started.
That's fantastic. Inspired by Craftsbury.
Yes, inspired by Craftsbury Sculling Center. Thanks to you guys, if you are listening. So this is how it started in '92. I started my first rowing course at the Ratzeburg Ruder Academy, which is famous in Germany. It sounds easy how I got there. It was not easy, because I wrote first a letter to the Visa if they want to help me. Then I went, of course, I went to the Dutch Rowing Federation if they want to help me to start this. But everybody saw a lot of problems. Indeed, it was not easy. And the Visa said, well, yes, very nice. Here you have a letter of approval. But sorry, we are just into race rowing. And so it took some years before I figured out that there was a Ratzeburg Ruder Academy, who were open to this idea. This how do you say this in English? The academy, yes.
Yes.
Academy. Yes. So excuse me for my English. Anyhow, they were open-minded because they usually support competition, high-level German rowers, but they had slot times where there was not a lot going on, and they invited me to be in the lower how do you say this, in the lower hours, that the academy was not used by the
time.
yeah. And they said, well, we have everything you're looking for single sculls. We have a motorboat, we have rooms for people to stay, and you are welcome to organize this. And so I was very happy with the fax, in that time still a fax, I received with all these things. And I thought, wow, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for, because it's a nice location, like in Vermont. They have all the facilities I was looking for, and they were open-minded. So I started the first camp. I was a volunteer coach, and I started like that in '92 with 6 people. And another thing I can
and it
add,
continued.
yeah, sorry. Another thing I can add is I was looking for a more experienced coach at that time, because I was I was experienced. I did row competition, but I realized if you start a sculling camp with open application possibilities, I could have high-level rowers in my group, which I might not be able to coach myself. I was a bit afraid of this. And I thought, well, I need a better coach to join me. And I found the Belgian top coach, who passed away, unfortunately, years ago. But he was so interested in this idea that he said, okay, I take off a week from my job as top coach and I come to help you. And so the first 10 years we were working together, and I was not worrying about having high level scholars in my group, which I might not provide the right information as a coach, because I was experienced, but a bit insecure about this part. Well, this is how I started the first 10 years of it.
And you continue to do camps. Are they mainly for recreational fitness rowers?
Fitness rowers, I like this, but I don't call it, I call them recreational rowers. You have very different levels in recreational rowers. There are people who just want to do a training, an outing, just to go for 6 kilometers and back, and then go back to work. And they're rowing on their own. There are people who are rowing because they like the coffee afterwards. and and so they're rowing in little groups and just for fun and rowing up and down twice a week, and then go for the coffee. And you have a little bit more ambitious recreational rowers who row for fun, but now and then want to do a small competition. So there is a broad variety of rowers, which can be called recreational rowers. And for all these groups, this Enjoy Rowing was meant. And I invented the name Enjoy Rowing after I invented the Dutch name, which Enjoy Rowing
Oh,
in Dutch is roeiplezier.nl.
rowing pleasure.
As
Yeah.
exactly, it was rowing pleasure, but somehow that didn't sound so nice. So I was thinking about an English version, and then I suddenly popped up with enjoyrowing.com, which is exactly what it is. So I was very proud to invent the English name as well. um, and uh, and then I started these sculling camps, and I immediately recognized that it was necessary that people improve their technique, their own technique first. So therefore, I focused on single sculls, because if you are in a single scull, you are with you and the single skull. There's nobody else to interrupt or to disturb you. There's nobody else to blame in the boat. It's just you and the single skull. And the single skull is giving back all information to the rower. So this is a very nice tool to use. Um, and also, if people are having different levels, um, it's uh, yeah, it's not a problem. They all can come to the sculling camp and the sculling course. They don't bother each other. It's easier if you are there to talk to. Excuse me. um, yeah, they're not bothered by somebody else who is high level sculler, and the high level sculler is not bothered by the low level sculler. In fact, they can learn from each other still. They still can learn from each other because I always do video recordings. At that time, that was new for recreational rowers. In 92, nobody was doing this for recreational rowers to have video and analysis. And I did it every day. The camps were about 6 days,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
they were staying at the lake. They had a nice environment. They were on holiday, and at the same time, they were learning to how to row better. And because we were doing this so intensive and everyday video analysis, they had a goal for the next day. This is exactly how you
Ah,
yeah, and they are very motivated to try to improve this film on a little thing we focused on. For instance, if you sit very much to, uh, with the bent back, how do you say this? Yeah, and after
then, yeah.
yeah, and you see this in the video, and then I tell, okay, we are focusing for the next day that you take a little bit different position in the boat, and then I choose just one or two topics, not too many, because this is what a lot of coaches do in the recreational or in the beginning. They are having, yeah, you have to improve this and this and this and this, and people are starting, I stop rowing. This is nothing for me. But if you just choose one or two topics, you can you say, okay, well, I can handle these topics, and I can try to improve. And then usually we saw this next day. You see this difference on the video. So this is how the camp started. And I'm off topic now. I don't know. And why it's a single skull, why it's focused on single skull. I also went down in size because in Vermont, where I saw this, there were 25 scullers. I
Yes.
reduced to 10 or 12 with two coaches because I wanted, this is also a holiday, and I wanted the group to let it be a group more. And if there's a big group, you have small groups, and it starts to be a different vibe. So this is, I size down.
And you have continued to run these courses, but you've told me that you've got a new thing that you're doing now.
Well, I think we jump too fast. These courses, after I'm a freelance journalist, so I'm a freelance. I did organize the course the first time once a year. I was 1 week. Then there was so many people wanted to come. There was no spot anymore. So I offered 2 weeks. So this continued, and it started to be 5 weeks in Ratzeburg, the Ruder, the German academy. So it started to be a company, and in fact, I started to be a paid coach. I went from voluntary to paid because it was a lot of work in the meantime. And also because I worked together with the top coach, I was improving myself as a coach as well. So it how you say it grew, it expanded. No, it became bigger.
Yes.
The whole thing became bigger.
Yes.
And then the academy in Germany said, well, we don't have that many slots anymore. Besides, and I had to look for a new location. I could still go there for a few weeks a year, but the other amount of people I didn't have the location for. So I searched for another 5 years for a new location, but I was completely spoiled by the first location because everything was there and it was top location. So how do I find this new location? And this was an immense search. I had a lake, I had no boats. I had a nice boats. There was no nice environment. I had a nice hotel, but then there was no lake. And so I was looking around. Then I had all things together, but then the weather, there was a lake with lots of wind, or I don't know what. So it took a long time. And after 5 years, I invented the Saar, also in Germany. And I started, you can see it on the site. It's a very special water. And it is down in the trees. It's below. It's completely sheltered from wind, and it is a natural environment. And it was a former academy from the German top sport, a former one, but it was empty. Nobody hardly used it. And I was there after long search, and I saw it, and in a few seconds I knew this is it. This is the new location. This is perfect. Yeah. But then I had to organize boats and organize something else because the building was there, but it was almost not used. And I was surprised. How can be a location like this not be used? So I organized things together. It's a whole story. I tell it in a minute, but anyhow. And I started the SaarRowingCenter.com, which is another one. And then my company, the rowing company, exploded because I could offer the courses like I didn't have to deal with the slots of the academy. I could make the slots like I wanted it, and I knew already people want to not to come 6 days, but they wanted to come 3 shorter times, so like a long weekend. And I was able to offer this, and I offered 3 days or 4 days, and I reduced again to 8 people only in one course because I thought, well, I'm not sure this is working. I start on my own, and I can handle, in my concept, it's possible to handle 8 persons at the same time, the way I do it. So I start alone so I can see if it's working or not. And there were some people from the Netherlands who helped me sponsoring 8 windtech boats, skiffs, single sculls, which I'm very grateful, because without that it wouldn't happen. But I didn't own the single sculls, because I said, I don't want to worry about the single sculls. Please, I want to rent them from you, not to have them, because I don't want the worries about this. So there was a boathouse with exactly these 8 single sculls, nothing else, and a place to stay. And the boathouse belonged to another center, which was taking care of this boathouse, but there was nothing happening. So, and they arranged catering. It was a complex organization altogether, but I started in 2011. It was the first season, and I popped from 40 scullers a year to 150 a year.
Wow.
So I was completely flabbergasted when I put this online, that I had so many applications, and I go, okay. And so I organized like 19 courses and Ratzeburg in northern Germany. So I was already full time at that time, organizing things and doing all things myself, by the way, from the taxes to the PR, to the website. I did everything, coaching, arranging, everything. And I kept it like 3 seasons, 3 years. I did all the courses myself in northern Germany and in the new location. And then it got too much, because I wanted to do also my other things. And I found someone that took it. He took it over now. Since 2014, somebody else took over sararowingcenter.com, and now it's even bigger. So it continued, and it's even bigger. Yes, I want to add one location more, because I had this dream to put one single course in the south of Spain in the wintertime. And yes, it happened also there, in a natural environment on a beautiful lake in Andalusia. I organized 8 times single course concept in the same way. Again, there was nothing at the lake. It was even worse than all the others. There was nothing. There was just a lake. And I organized the single sculls from the rowing center of Sevilla, 100 kilometers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but it was not easy, because they didn't want to rent out the single sculls to me at first. But after long conversations and a pilot camp with not the better single sculls, but a little bit less better single sculls, I did a pilot first. And after this pilot, they were convinced, and I could organize 8 times. I could organize single sculls course in this beautiful Spanish lake. And then the management changed, and Corona came, and I stopped there. I stopped it. So what I did until last year was just in northern Germany, still the 2 or 3 weeks. I reduced the whole thing a little bit. So this is the first part.
Talk to us about the second part.
The second part is after 30 years organizing these sculling things, enjoying a lot of people coming by, improving their techniques, seeing big smiles, and the organization part became a little bit too much. So what I want to do this year is I want to be a coach for clubs, come to clubs. I do already. They invite me and say, hey, we want to improve our coaches, how to teach beginners, or how to teach recreational rowers better. Please help out with so I do this already. I did it in Switzerland, in Germany, in the Netherlands. But I want to extend this part. It's sort of how can I help you idea. And this is fun for me because the organization is mainly in the club and not at my part. And I just come by and I help them. And I do nice interactive programs with the coaches, try to motivate them to teach. And also, if rowers want to organize themselves a single skill clinic in a club with a small group of people, they can just give a call or write a mail, and we see what we can organize. And yes, so still I offer single skill weeks or more days in a row, but only if people put themselves together as a little group and then give me a mail or a call. We want this, or we want this over there, or whatever. And this is my new, what I call my new direction, because it's a pity to waste all the experience I have as a coach and to just stop. I don't want to stop. It will be a waste of knowledge.
That's really, really exciting. And of course, Carla, you tell me that on the continent in Europe, there are some very, very large rowing clubs with a large number of people who are recreational rowers rather than racing rowers. So these are your target audience.
They were from the beginning, and they are still. It's still not solved in a lot of clubs, that because these recreational rowers are also the rowers who are financing the whole rowing club. This is the foundation of the clubs, and it is too bad that exactly these people have difficulty to find better coaching. Or let me say, there are a lot of volunteer coaches in rowing clubs, and they're doing their best, whatever they can, to help everybody. But usually they are grabbed for youth coaching, or they are grabbed for coaching the more ambitious rowers to row races. And then these people who are in between, this big group, they have a hard time to find a coach after they started rowing, because most clubs do have some coaching, of course, in the beginning to learn how to row. But even then, we here in the Netherlands, there are clubs. I just spoke to a club in The Hague, and they have new rowers that are like on the waiting list, and then they come, and there are 50 people that have to learn how to row. This must be done by volunteers in the club. A lot of clubs have waiting lists because the volunteers cannot facilitate so many rowers how to learn how to row. So these volunteers in the clubs are heavily occupied to try to arrange everything.
Yeah.
And they are focused on the youth, on the more ambitious rowers, and on the beginning rowers. But after the beginning rowers enter the club, usually there are exceptions. Of course, there are exceptions with clubs who manage to have also coaches for this huge big group. But mostly they are a little bit left alone and want to improve, and but cannot find. And this is exactly the target. And it started 30 years ago, and it's still it's still a need for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I have found exactly the same thing, because they are adults. So once they are safe in a rowing boat, the club thinks that's okay. Whereas if it's children shouldn't be left alone. You need to have a launch for safety reasons. You have to have a coach going out with children. And this is the reason why a lot of masters rowers are quite neglected, I think, by the clubs that they're members of.
This is what I think too, and I still feel it is like this. It's because all the courses I did and all the people I met from different countries in Europe, from different clubs, and they tell me this story. So I sort of have an overview and an over feeling a feeling about this. This is still going on. So yeah, and also the rowing federations are usually concentrating a lot on competition rowing, and so is the Visa, although they organize nice tours for tour rowers. Now you say this in just for a tour with
touring rowing.
touring rowing is big as well, but these are again another group. This is another group with another focus. I usually have I have people who row long distances in my courses. I have recreational rowers who row up and down twice a week. But the touring rowers, I don't have so much because this is a different group again. They go to the visa tours and enjoy exploring new countries and the social thing about it, meeting other rowers. This is a different group, and they usually are not really interested to really improve technique. This is what I noticed. They row in a different way, which I find fine. I mean, if this is what you want, the sport is not meant to be competition or only tour or only competition or only pleasure. There are different ways to row, and I think as long as you row, it's fine. If you need a coach, I'm there. If not, it's fine. I mean, as long as you're happy with your rowing.
So, Carla, tell everybody.
Huh?
As long as you're happy doing your rowing. I think that's a very good motto. So tell the listeners where they can contact you.
Just go to the website, enjoyrowing.com. And there you find my mail address, and just write a mail. I think this is the most simple way. I don't know. Maybe there is a phone number on too, but I'm not so sure. I have to look at my own website. But I think the mail in these days is fine, and I react quite fast on mails. I am happy to travel to your club and just help out and motivate rowers and people and do nice things together. I think this is it. I have one question, Rebecca. Do you know about Row on Air?
Yes.
You do? It's a type of boat, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I discovered this a few years ago. And what I liked about it is I don't have to bother about trailers and single sculls anymore. I can just put it in my car.
It's easy. Exactly.
In fact,
and you inflate them. Yeah.
I will show you where I live. You see what is going on here?
Oh, you live in a houseboat?
Yes, true. So in my houseboat, underneath in my cellar for my houseboat, I have the Row on Air. And now and then I row from here.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But I like it because
finally the coach gets to go rowing.
Yes. But I like it too because it's very stable, and for beginner rowers, it's an excellent tool, and they're safe. They're safe on it. What I found though is it's hard to convince rowing clubs they might use something like that, because it's not looking like a single scull. It looks very different, and this is a sort of mental thing in rowing clubs, which is still difficult, because in fact you can the damage on a Row on Air is not huge. I mean, you can, if you go out with your single scull and you make a turn and you make a bad turn in with a building next to you, you have a damage. You have damaged you see what I mean? And the Row on Air is not. It's just very stable and very safe. But anyhow, I'm a fan, and I can use it with the coaching. It's great. It's absolutely great. And so, but this is not about enjoy rowing. Yeah, I do use it sometimes, and yeah, it makes you very independent where you go. You can go anywhere to row. I don't have to call a rowing club. Can I use your boats for a sculling course? No, I can just go and offer something somewhere, and this is what I like about it.
Well, Carla, it seems to me that you have broken a lot of the old-fashioned ways of doing things in your long career as a rowing coach. And I encourage anyone who's listening today who thinks that they would like to get Carla's expertise, please get in touch at enjoyrowing.com. This has been the Rowing Chat podcast with me, Rebecca Caro. And until next time,